Hello, my name is Matthias Obst and I'm a marine biologist, and today I'm going to talk about how machines can change the way we do marine biology research in the future. The marine environment, as you see it in this picture, is usually difficult to access and observe, and this is especially true for marine biologists who study species and ecosystems. But it is even harder for us as marine biologists to assemble our collective knowledge on a larger geographic scale. So a good representation of what we know and about the marine biodiversity in our ocean on a global level would be something like this. It's a very blurry picture. We see the planet and we see the ocean, but the very details on the distribution and the function of marine species is to a large extent unknown to us. And why is that? Well, here are a few numbers to underline this picture. The largest database that we have that tells us about where to find species and what they do is the Ocean Biogeographic Information System. And as you see on those numbers, even though it's quite impressive numbers on the data size, it's only covering about 5% of the species that we think are out there in the ocean, and that is excluding microbes. So we do know relatively few species in the ocean. At the same time, the recent report from the Intergovernmental Panel of Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services tells us that up to 25% of the marine species are threatened, which means they are on decline. And if you now put these two figures together and combine them, we start to understand that the marine life in our oceans is disappearing faster than we are able to record it. And that is a huge challenge for us as marine biologists. So this problem has been discussed for many years, and there are approaches how to deal with it. One of the major ideas that have been pronounced in the last years is the idea of start to building up marine biodiversity observation networks, so-called MBONs. And the central purpose of MBONs is to replace manual observations with automated observations, and that will increase quite tremendously the data volume and the information that we have on distribution and function of species in the oceans. So there's a second function with these networks, and that is the actual network ability, that now the data are coming together and they're easier, they become more interoperable because they're created by machines and can be assembled and analyzed in a larger context. So here you see three examples of such bonds as they are already existing or they're coming together. And one of the most advanced ones is, of course, the satellite-based observation system for marine biodiversity. And the Copernicus program is an excellent program that has many, many users every day on their data. But the problem with satellite-based observation is that only very few species you can actually observe from space. So we need additional networks that work and are deployed in the ocean. And two more networks that have quite a large potential. One is the one based on DNA information, and there is currently a lot of activities in the community that building up these observation networks with DNA information. The great advantage of DNA information is that it helps you to get a very high taxonomic resolution in the observation. So you can observe species, subspecies, and even populations. When you're looking at the additional information that could come from imagery, that could be either hydroacoustic imagery or photographic imagery, then these sensor networks that collect these data, they have also a great advantage, and that is that you can almost reach any corner of the ocean with these automated systems. So altogether, the technology has advanced and is used by many marine institutes today in Europe. Now the question is, why aren't we generating millions and millions of species observations every day? Because theoretically the technology would allow it us. The answer is that we do it. These systems, they do generate a lot of data, but the data flow is not stable enough to bring all the data together and make them, ending them up in the appropriate databases. So that is, I think, one of the key suggestions for where we should put focus into the future in terms of data, enabling data flows and supporting marine data for marine biology research. So here you see an example for one of the sensor systems, which is quite representative for most of the marine institutes in Europe, because underwater drones and automated vehicles that go around on the seafloor and taking photos and making movies is very common now. And we are analyzing these imagery with artificial intelligence algorithms. And this way we can extract many, many thousand species observations from the movies every day. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think this shows the bottlenecks, because to take pictures and control these sensor systems and these vehicles is one challenge in itself. The next one is to start developing artificial intelligence algorithms and train marine biologists to use it. And for that, we really need to invest into collaborations with data scientists. That is often a rare thing, and that should be a focus. There's also a strong requirement to develop standards. So the data collected by different institutes with different vehicles need to become analyzable together. They need to be interoperable and they need to be comparable. And that is very seldom the case today. And one of the third bottleneck, I think, when it comes to analyzing, extracting information from imagery is the data archiving, which is today usually organized on a very individual and institutional level. So the data, as you see it here, movies, underwater footage, it's often very limited in the accessible and findable. And so these data, they cannot today come together and be analyzed on a larger geographic scale. So this was one example for sensor systems, what they can do and where the bottlenecks are. But here we have an overview of where I think are the bottlenecks for most for these sensor systems. So while the satellite-based system is very well established and marine data services are all there, they are still not there for completely, especially when it comes to organize the data and manage them for the DNA-based networks. And I think they are only in the beginning of becoming European service. We're only in the beginning at developing European services for analyzing, processing, and archiving sensor-based data. And that should be a strong focus in the future. So with that, I would like to conclude, and the important thing I would like to state here is that once we're focusing on these marine data services, I think we have a very good chance to generate much more or collect much more data from the ocean on the biodiversity and get a global picture, a very good, sharp global picture of our marine life in the ocean. Thank you very much.